Russia has warned US against striking Iran's nuclear infrastructure, stating that such attack would have catastrophic consequences. The Russian Foreign Ministry's relevant statement was published by local media on Tuesday. Threats are indeed being heard, ultimatums are also being heard. We consider such methods inappropriate, we condemn them, we consider them a way for the US to impose its own will on the Iranian side, Deputy Foreign Minister Sergei Ryabkov told the Russian journal International Affairs, in an interview, extracts of which were published on Tuesday. There is still time, and the train has not left the station yet. We must intensify efforts to reach a reasonable agreement, Ryabkov said, adding that Moscow was ready to offer its services to Washington, Tehran, and all parties interested in resolving this issue. The ministry's statement comes after US President Donald Trump threatened to bomb Iran and impose secondary tariffs on Tehran if a nuclear deal was not reached with Washington. Trump's warning followed Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian's statement that Tehran would not engage in direct talks with Washington over its nuclear program and was only ready for indirect talks. We responded to the US President's letter via Oman and rejected the option of direct talks, but we are open to indirect negotiations, Pezeshkian said on Sunday while addressing a cabinet meeting. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov also said last month that Russian President Vladimir Putin had agreed to mediate the talks between Washington and Tehran.
Russian forces weakened and stretched thin. Ukraine is pressing forward in Toretsk with a coordinated and relentless assault. Using precision airstrikes, artillery and elite ground units, they are systematically dismantling Russian defences, paving the way for the next phase of their offensive, Euromaidan press media outlet reports. The Ukrainian forces aim to capitalize on the weakened Russian presence and retake Toretsk. This would disrupt Russian plans, forcing them to prematurely commit reserves that are being gathered for a summer offensive on Kostiantynivka. By drawing Russian forces into another costly battle for Toretsk, similar to their previous failed attempts, Ukraine could drain Russian manpower and resources, effectively resetting their progress. If successful, this would indefinitely delay Russian offensive plans for Kostiantynivka, keeping them locked in a stalemate while Ukraine maintains momentum in other front sectors. Euromaidan press reports. It is noted that to keep Russian forces at bay in the Toretsk area, Ukraine is deploying some of its most elite assault units, including the Azov Brigade, in a coordinated, combined arms warfare strategy. This means Ukrainian forces are not only conducting infantry assaults, but also integrating air support, artillery and drone strikes to maximize their battlefield effectiveness. Euromaidan press says that by using guided bombs to demolish fortified Russian positions, Ukraine has managed to inflict heavy casualties and disrupt enemy assault plans. Even when some Russian troops survive these strikes, they are left scattered and disorganized, and their defensive positions are rendered useless, making it significantly harder for them to launch counterattacks. Meanwhile, Russian infantry squads operating outside their fortified positions are quickly detected by Ukrainian reconnaissance drones and exposed to precise artillery fire. In many cases, just one or two well-placed shells are enough to eliminate entire squads. As Russian soldiers started maintaining more distance between each other to avoid becoming a target for artillery, Ukrainians extensively deployed FPV kamikaze drones, which are capable of picking off enemy soldiers one by one with precision, ensuring that even dispersed units remain vulnerable. Euromaidan press says that this operation suppressed Russian forces trapped in isolated holdouts, as fear of Ukrainian strikes kept them from moving in the open, allowing Ukrainian armored vehicles to navigate the streets with minimal risk. This in turn enables the deployment of demolition squads who systematically identify enemy hideouts. Once located, they place large explosives made from repurposed anti-tank mines as demolition charges, effectively leveling the fortified positions and eliminating the Russian troops inside. Additionally, the Azov Brigade had been deployed to the southern flank of Toretsk and had announced that they had completed their clearing operation at Shebinivka and Leonidivka, where isolated Russian squads that had failed to capture the settlements ended up trapped in basements for months. The brigade's stormtroopers conducted cautious advances, using small arms fire and grenades to flush the Russian troops out of their positions. Those who chose to fight were swiftly eliminated, while others surrendered, allowing Ukrainian forces to secure complete control over the villages. With stable control over Shebinivka and Leonidivka, Ukrainian forces have secured the southern flank of their Toretsk offensive, enabling more aggressive maneuvers in the Zabalka micro-district. Control of this district allows Ukrainians to exert more pressure on the Russian southern flank, forcing them to redeploy additional reserves and further extend their defense lines. Euromaidan Press recalls that overall, the Ukrainian forces managed to suppress the Russian forces in the Toretsk area through aggressive and well-coordinated combined arms warfare using aviation and artillery combined with ground raids by stormtroopers and demolition squads. The completion of the Shebinivka and Leonidivka clearing operation has fulfilled the Azov Brigade's task at Toretsk, as they were deployed here precisely to address the Russian threat and are now free to either continue their actions in Toretsk or be redeployed to use their skills in the many other directions where Ukrainians are slowly regaining the initiative. During an unsuccessful assault on the positions of the 72nd Separate Mechanized Brigade, Ukrainian defenders recorded how a Russian infantry fighting vehicle opened fire on its soldiers to force them to move forward. The incident occurred near Novoandriivka in Donetsk Oblast. Russians are shooting at their own because of panic and demoralization. Thus, the Russian armed forces have once again demonstrated the level of chaos in their ranks. During the assault on Ukrainian positions near the village of Novoandriivka in the Pokrovsky district of the Donetsk region, a Russian infantry fighting vehicle opened fire on its own infantry. This was reported by the press service of the Unmanned Systems Battalion of the 72nd Separate Mechanized Brigade, which published a corresponding video. The assault began with an attempt to land troops in a forest belt using 3 armoured vehicles. However, Ukrainian soldiers responded quickly. One of the armoured personnel carriers was destroyed using drones, and the assault group was forced to land at its own positions. In the second wave of the assault, Russian forces managed to land soldiers closer to Ukrainian positions, but they refused to leave their armoured vehicles and remained on the armour. To force them to move, the BMP gunner opened fire on them. Only after that did the soldiers reluctantly begin to move toward the forest belt. Soon the combat vehicle itself attempted to leave its position, but was destroyed by a Ukrainian FPV drone. This incident was already the 4th recorded attempt to storm Russian troops in the Novoandriivka area. All of them ended in complete defeat, the 72nd Brigade reports. Ukrainian military officials say the lack of motivation among Russian soldiers is becoming increasingly obvious. The fighters suffer from a lack of medical care, poor living conditions, and a command that sends even disabled people into battle on crutches and in wheelchairs to carry out orders. Deep state analysts say that Russian troops are making territorial gains in the Donetsk region. The map has been updated. The enemy has advanced near Preobrazhenka, a village in the Pokrovsk urban community of Pokrovsk district of the Donetsk region. Alexandropil, a village in the Ilinivska rural community of Kramatorsk district of the Donetsk region, and Nove, a village in the Lyman urban territorial community of the Donetsk region. The statement said,